Okay, so I got some time now, I have finished the game for about a week, so here goes, a quick review of Sniper Elite V2. Let's start off with the positives. There's a very satisfying feel to many of the shots, especially the ones that go over a certain amount of distance. The X-ray cams are quite nice also, you got headshots, long shots, boom, liver shot, and of course,
the dreaded testicle shot, when you absolutely have to crush someone's hopes and dreams with one bullet. Except no substitutions.
Hey, couldn't have said it better myself. And all of them look pretty cool. Speaking of, the graphics also look quite well, considering that the game is a little bit older by now. The weapons don't feel too weak and are reasonably well balanced, even though the SMG could be a little bit weaker. The maps can be quite diverse and allow for different approaches for different kinds of players. The story is fine. Nothing too extraordinary, but not as bad as some other games. And that's about it. So here I come with the negative stuff. First and foremost, there is the feedback of hitting an enemy, because there's basically none. Which is realistic and all, but a hit marker would have been nice. Well, let me rephrase that. There is a certain way to see if you hit an enemy. Sometimes there's a little splatter of blood, and sometimes the enemy behaves differently when he's hit. But the blood can easily be overlooked and the behavior doesn't change always. This gets really annoying at higher difficulties because sometimes it can take up to 3 shots to get an enemy down, and in some cases it's impossible to tell if you even hit the enemy, let alone need to aim higher or lower to get an instant kill with the next shot. Speaking of difficulty, I didn't have that much of a problem playing the whole game on the hardest one, which adds different wind speeds and leaves you without any marker when you hold your breath, which makes it pretty superfluous to even do so. Wind speed, less health and a couple more enemies compared to lower difficulties would all be peachy, but there's one thing that really bothered me, which also changed with difficulty, and that's the speed at which your health regenerates. I have no idea why they felt the need to change that, since you already get more and more damage with higher difficulties. And the situation where it becomes apparent that this is a problem is during the mission Kreuzberg Headquarters. To be more specific, the last part of the mission. Here you have to eliminate a lot of snipers on the roofs. On the highest difficulty, every one of these could easily kill you in 2 hits, and they shoot quite accurate. Assuming that you don't exactly know where they are, this means you intentionally need to take a hit to see where they stand. So if 2 of the snipers hit you at the same time, you are dead. So get up, get hit, locate the source, regenerate for what feels like an eternity, stand up, shoot back. In the worst case, you have to repeat this process for every single sniper, which can take up to half an hour, possibly longer if you're not really good at spotting them at a certain distance. And I know some of you might say, but Thad, when you played the mission, you didn't take half an hour. Yeah, but you get the point. It took me a long while to actually finish that mission, and I already knew beforehand where most of the snipers are gonna be. I'd like to point out that many of the problems here would be easily fixed with changing the approach to the game and just a different playstyle. This, however, is not. You don't have anything at your disposal to deal with that situation in a different, more practical way. If you don't know where the snipers are, you have to get shot, trace the source, and shoot back. And this takes time, because the rate at which you regenerate is a fucking joke. But you have to fully regenerate every fucking time, because otherwise they'll just kill you in 1 hit. So yeah, regeneration speed is a problem on higher difficulties. Now let's speak about the enemies of the game. They kinda suck. I mean, they're okay, but as soon as you figure out that they basically only run from point A to point B to shoot a couple of times and then change their position again, you can just wait for them to stop running and pick them off one by one. They seldom try to infiltrate your position, even if it's not secured by landmines and what have you. And their long-range accuracy is abysmal, except for the snipers. However, on short range, they basically instantly kill you, which is fine, I guess, realism and such, but I'm not a big fan of that. Speaking of which, let's talk about the stealth in the game, because yeah, there's stealth in the game, and it doesn't work. At least not the way it's intended to, because you never once really need to be stealthy. There's only one situation in the entire game which you can't just pass by just gunning down everyone or just running past a huge part of the section, because enemies just despawn when you pass a certain point. This becomes an even bigger problem on lower difficulties, because if I can do that at the highest difficulty, just gunning everyone down, just running past everyone, imagine how easy it is to actually just skip an entire level by just running past everyone, since they don't do any damage anymore. Especially because, as I've already mentioned, the enemies only spawn per loading zone. So if you run through a loading zone, then the enemies behind you just despawn in most cases. I guess this can be seen as a pro also for people who don't like stealth that much, but honestly I think it would have been nicer if the game encouraged stealth a little more. The big problem here being the difficulty again, because why take the risk that one of the enemies just turns around and instantly shoots your dick off when you can pick them off from a distance where they can never even hit you? I also think more kinds of enemies would have been nice. Finally, I want to talk about the sound design of the game. Maybe it's because it's an older game by now, or war is not supposed to sound nice, but the sound design hurts at times. Everything not related to you shooting your rifle just sounds either weak as fuck or so loud it will rupture your fucking eardrums for some reason.
Seid nicht so faul. Ich kann euch von hier aus sehen.
And the sniper rifles sound so good, and I don't know why. So yeah, I don't like the sound design that much. I also definitely think the game is too short. It has like 10 missions, and that's just way too short. The missions themselves are fine, except for this one can go fuck itself, but 2 of the missions are also quite short. I'd guess that on easiest difficulty you can probably complete the whole game in about 2 hours. Or 1.5. Maybe even less if you hurry up and exploit the game a little. Even on Sniper Elite, which is the hardest difficulty, it didn't even take me 3 hours, and trust me, I'm not that good at playing shooters, especially not third-person ones. So basically, I'd guess I give the game a 7 out of 10, something you can buy in a sale for like $10 or less, but spending more on it is kinda questionable, except if you want to play it in co-op, which can be quite fun. Anyway, this has been my quick, somewhat unstructured review. I hope you enjoyed it, and I also hope that I'll see you in the next time. Until then, have a nice day, have a nice night, and of course, as always, have a nice time.